This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Well, hello and welcome back to the Research Talks podcast here from Stockbox with Alan Green and Dan Flynn. So good morning, guys. How are we doing? How's the week been? It's been fairly quiet, I think, but we do see some movement in terms of like Coincilium, for example, doing another big raise. Dan, I know you sort of follow that space quite closely. Anything catching your eye apart from Coincilium?
The coin one's an interesting one, isn't it? There's sort of been a bit of a mixed response given that the raise is being completed at a much lower price than the company was trading at a few weeks ago. But you've got to look at it in practical terms, and company needs to keep stacking Bitcoin. So it's doing what it needs to do to get the funds in place to do it. So hopefully it can rebound a bit from here. Now this is out of the way.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But I mean, has anything else been happening this week? Do you think on the markets?
Well, I've just noticed winter floods, of course, are the market makers for many small cap stocks. They're owned by Close Brothers, but they've just been sold this morning to Marex for just over 100 million sterling. So obviously, Brian Winterflood sort of passed, I think, about a year or so ago. But again, that's a nice net sum for his family. But I hope the Marex Group will continue to expand Winterflood's capabilities.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So, okay, well, there's an acquisition there, isn't there? So that's obviously good. So that was
and also,
we won't see wins on the bid anymore. We'll see a different ticker on the bid.
Well, I imagine they'll keep the name because the name, of course, it's just obviously, ownership has changed. But, what Marex Group will bring, of course, remains to be seen. But it's an encouraging transaction. It just shows that the London market is valued, and buyers are looking at the transactional, the transactions and the transactional systems in place there, and it's attractive, so that's good. And also, just to note that the UK fund manager Jupiter has reported a rebound of net inflows during Q2, so that's encouraging. More money coming back into the market.
Interesting.
Something I saw, which speaking to London markets, was that the LSE group's looking at the possibility of introducing extended or even 24-hour trading.
Wow.
I think this sees it as a necessity given we're all on our phones all the time now, and crypto is traded 24 hours. But it's kind of interesting, isn't it? I've seen a lot of debate around the potential logistical issues and the impact of like thin volumes overnight on.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that because that could be a bit. I mean, I used to day trade a couple of years ago, and that you can trade throughout the night, not on the weekend, but it switches to the Asian markets and then back to the US. And something can happen overnight when you're asleep. At least in the day, you've got a bit more control over it.
Yeah, that's
it. Yeah, there's definitely a human element there, in the sense that if it's when the markets open at 8 and close at 4:30, you sort of know you're not missing out outside those hours. If you're trading the whole time, like, I don't know, you're going to feel like you need to monitor your portfolio every hour of the working week.
Well, I think so, because it's a difference between investing in a stock, isn't it, and basically sort of leaving it there versus trading. I mean, I can't see an advantage to having the markets open just to be able to buy stocks, unless it's catering to markets that are not in the hours, but surely you can make it work for you. But yeah, it's more sounds like a trading thing to me, that does. But well, maybe it'll work, but I wouldn't like it to be. I wouldn't like... like general stocks to be able to be traded like 24/7. That would be, you'd have to really start thinking about some stop losses or well, I don't know, or it's just a bit less. Yeah, at least you know where you stand with 8 to 4:30, don't you? You know you've got those out, and you can clock off. In fact, when 4:30 comes, it's quite a nice feeling sometimes because it's like, okay,
it is,
that's it now for today.
I think that's a pretty worrying prospect. I mean, less sleep for one thing. I mean. But it's that worry, isn't it? Because you've got that physical start and finish time, and then you can I think it maximizes efficiency as well. I don't know. I think if it's trading all night, it's anyway. I'm sure there'll be automated trading algorithms.
Well, that's it. Maybe we'll do our own AIs. Exactly, program our own AIs with some parameters, and they'll do it for us.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be that's what we do.
Right. Yeah.
And also, of course, this talk of tokenization of assets. So obviously, we spoke about First Class last week and First Class Metals, and they're tokenizing assets in the ground. So when everything becomes tokenized and you've got a borderless transactional instrument, then why would you have trading hours? I suppose it's something that can be traded around the clock.
Maybe. A new era of investment and trading.
Indeed.
Interesting. Well, thank you for pointing that out, Dan. I might have a read about that. I mean, this week for me, what stood out was, of course, Guardian Metal Resources getting that Department of Defense grant, which, of course, has been sort of rumoured and almost expected, I think, for a while. But that finally came in. I did plan to speak to Oliver, but just with the sensitivity around that, we haven't managed to actually get that organised yet. But that was obviously very good for Guardian, so I was quite pleased to see that. And another company we speak to quite a lot, Silver Bullet Mines, over on the TSX there with Peter Clause, the VP Capital Markets. They acquired another gold project. So they've added that at pretty much zero cost, they announced. So that brings them into another potential little gold mine there they can process at their mill. So I know that's more of a perhaps interest for the North American investors, but they're just kind of carrying on. I did sort of joke with Peter Clause that I love the kind of maverick style of the company. They're very different from everyone else, I think, out there.
I agree. They've got so much going on, don't they? They only just got those concentrate sales. Now it's definitely one with a lot of upside, I think.
Indeed, yeah. And the other one that sort of caught my eye a little bit was Panther Metals bringing on Kerem onto the board because he's got a lot of experience with that Winston mine. So we are actually planning a special feature with Kerem to actually really talk about that in more of a technical sense. I'm looking forward to doing that because that was quite a good interview, and he put someone with that vast amount of knowledge and credibility on the project that really helps. So I think he'll help investors understand that project an awful lot more. And then of course Mendel, just very quickly, they obviously got their permit, so that's all nicely on the way. Some stuff happening. We spoke about them last week, didn't we? But that permit is in hand now. So
that's good.
So a few things happening actually when you come to think about it. This week. So that's good. Mogotes Metals, as we're going to talk about the sort of feature today, Dan. So I know we've covered them a couple of times before, but you can bring us up to speed on Mogotes because they've had some developments as well.
Yeah, like you say, Mogotes is a stock I've covered on here before. It's a Canadian company with a strong early stages of a massive project narrative based around its Filo Sur asset in Chile. Since we last discussed the company in May, this story has only strengthened. And though Mogotes is already advanced by around 20% since then, it's now valued at around 54.5 million Canadian dollars. I think the fact that it recently closed a $22.2 million financing cornerstone by a family office gives it a huge amount of firepower to complete the work it needs to really unlock more value from Filo Sur and potentially advance its valuation even further. So beginning with the story, Filo Sur is a massive copper, gold, silver asset straddling the Chile-Argentina border. It's based in an area known as the Vicuña Copper District, which has become a hotbed of discovery over the past 10 or so years. And it's immediately adjacent to the most significant of these discoveries, a project called Filo del Sol. So the large-scale, high-grade sulfide deposit at Filo del Sol is one of the most significant copper discoveries globally in recent decades. It's also one of the world's largest undeveloped copper, gold, silver deposits. And the project was acquired by BHP in London last year as part of a 4.5 billion Canadian dollar deal to form a JV focused on establishing and developing its full potential. So through early analysis of satellite imagery and analysis of historic data, Mogotes discovered that its Filo Sur project represents a clear extension of the trend at Filo del Sol with the same structural setting present. And its systematic geophysical surveying, sampling, and trenching since has established a large bank of targets with the characteristics of large mineral systems, respective for both porphyry and epithermal copper gold deposits. So the clearest opportunity here, as far as I can see it, is BHP and/or London partner with Mogotes on Filo Sur, or even straight up buy it. After all, the pair have already spent 4.5 billion on establishing a project in the region. A stake or ownership of Filo Sur would offer an opportunity to consolidate this position further still, in for a penny, in for a pound, and all that. Either that or another company jumps on the opportunity following in BHP's footsteps. But whatever the journey ends up being, the destination could be extremely valuable for Mogotes. All the company needs to do, and I say all knowing it's a lot of very complicated, expensive work, is physically demonstrate the presence of economic mineralization through drilling. As we all know, it's the strong grades in the drill core that really gets these third parties interested. And this is where the Brauns come in. The Braun family is the founding family of, I don't know how this is pronounced, but Bunge Global, which is one of the biggest agribusinesses globally. Through their office, they hold agriculture, natural resources, and infrastructure investments globally. And in June, Mogotes announced that the family were cornerstoning an enormous $22 million placement in new shares in the company, and that Carlos Braun, the family's representative, would be joining its board. So this placement is now completed through several tranches, and it likely gives Mogotes all the capital it needs to complete its planned drilling of a range of targets later this year, along with any necessary follow-up work. When you spoke to Mogotes technical director Stephen Nano in June, Mark, he said the company was gathering as much data as it can and ticking all the necessary boxes to ensure it has as great a chance as possible when the drill bit gets turning. So I think on this basis, with a fair wind behind it, by which I mean a successful drilling campaign that delivers some really decent gold and copper intersections pointing to the presence of a variety of economic deposits, there's a real opportunity here for Mogotes to re-rate further upwards on positive news flow. And that could make for an excellent entry point right now. I mean, if nothing else, the money it's raised covers a significant chunk of its current market cap, which reduces the amount of value in turn being placed on the opportunity at Filo Sur by the market, at least for now. So, yeah, I think there's scope for a continued increase here, especially with the momentum having now been established, with the stock performing pretty well so far this year. I'd be interested to know what you both think.
I think it's very good that they raised all that money, like you say. I mean, that's a significant chunk, isn't it?
And
they're going to start doing work, I think, isn't it, in the autumn, from memory, from talking to Stephen. I think it was around...
I think so, October, November.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so getting cashed up now in the summer, fantastic. And then being able to use that on the ground.
And also having the Braun Group involved as well, that's really exciting. But I mean, that region, the Vicuna Copper District, is very active and very fertile for commodities. Of course, you've got MGX Minerals. They've recently made a discovery nearby. There's Lunahasi and Los Helados exploration projects. I think they share the geology too, don't they? So it's all pointing to a very promising a very promising discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. No, I mean, I refer back to that special feature we did that you mentioned, Dan, with Stephen Nano. It's quite a long one, but you can really see why it's got so much prospectivity. So,
yeah, and you can tell
as you say,
he's very excited about it as well, which is always...
Oh, yeah, he is. He absolutely is. Yeah, definitely. And now you've got that or you said a family office backing there. That gives a lot of confidence, and it's perhaps a chance now for investors to get in the summer sort of quieter period with a bit of confidence, perhaps, that it's been backed by a family office, ready for exploration on the ground.
I mean, you never know. You never know what the drilling's actually going to return. No. But if it does return what Stephen seems to be excited about, then I don't know. There's already a lot of boxes that have been ticked here, and that would be the final one that sort of you'd expect it to set this in motion.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the exciting part, isn't it, of investing in exploration companies? You never actually know, so you should never put more in than you can afford to lose. But this is the exciting part.
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why we do it, isn't it? For that, that assay result that we've all been
Definitely.
waiting for.
Well, I think if you want to see the potential of how these things can grow, you mentioned Guardian earlier, Mark. I mean, that's the shares have exploded into life again. Of course, that's gone from 10p to 20 to 30, 40, 50, 60, and pushing 70p now. So, and that's really still only the start. So, if you hung on to that stock from day one, then you'd have it's a multi-bagger in every sense of the word.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay, excellent. Well, good stuff. Thank you, Dan. So, Alan, Mosman Oil and Gas, want to talk about?
Yes, Mosman Oil and Gas. So there have been quite a few changes in this company recently, so I'll cover those. But Mosman is AIM listed. Epicode is MSMN, has traded as high as 0.08 pence on the year and as low as 0.18p, currently at 0.22p, giving the company market capitalization of just over 5 million. Now, the company has traditionally been focused. It has two helium assets in Australia and was involved in oil a few years ago. And I did interview the previous chairman, John Barr, some years back when we were at the company then. But Mosman has transitioned into helium. It's now targeting helium, targeting low risk locations close to proven helium wells, and also that infrastructure that, of course, we hear about so often. And obviously, we talked about Mendel Helium recently, who have that infrastructure in place. So Mosman have assets in both Australia and the US. So the Australian assets, there were two assets there, EP145. This asset was sold to ASX listed Echelon Resources, and the asset has funding for drilling. Mosman retains a 5% royalty there. So once the helium starts to come out of the ground, it will earn off the back of that, which is obviously a good arrangement. They just have that now as a passive asset. Same as EPA 155, Exploration License 155. They have a 100% work interest, and they sold that to Georgina Energy, GEX. Of course, I know you've spoken to Georgina a lot, Mark, about the assets. Mosman retains a 2.5% royalty there, so they'll earn from that ongoing. But it now has a portfolio of US assets in Colorado, Southwest Colorado and Southeast Colorado. It owns a 20% interest in the Vector project, and the Vector project, there's proven high helium content gas production at the nearby Model Dome field, and there is a drilling campaign underway there, which we'll have more information about shortly. There is the Coyote Wash project. This is an area of some 4,300 acres. Mosman has a 100% working interest there. Now, Coyote Wash was drilled by a company called Winters Hall in 1984. They tested the gas from that field. 6 large helium prospects are identified with 3D seismic, and they are targeting helium within Leadville carbonates and also McCracken sandstones. It kind of forms the geological underlay of the Coyote Wash assets and also the Sagebrush assets, and that's the project where the key focus is at the moment. So Sagebrush is it's a large acreage there. It's renowned for oil production. It's been producing sort of oil sort of over the years, some 15,000 to 17,000 barrels of oil produced every year since 2017 from 7 wells in the area. And indeed, the Leadville Formation, which is where the carbonates exist, have also been identified as prospective for helium and other gases. So last week, the company announced that the following testing of the the Sagebrush asset, by Four Corners Helium had provided Mosman with an estimate of some 205 million cubic feet of net helium and about 1.7 billion cubic feet of net hydrocarbon contingent resources. Now, what really cornerstones the value of Mosman is the well there, which is drilled into the Leadville. That well is worth by itself about $4.5 million. And in an interview with Andrew Scott at the start of the week, Howard McLaughlin, the interim chief executive, stated that that asset alone, with its value, means that it's saved the company an awful lot of money. It's already there. So what they've just got to do is tap it and extract it. And he referred to it as a world-class project, which is way ahead of other projects in the area. So, from that point of view, there is real potential. But of course, the company has its own internal estimates. July 21st, early this week, they announced they had engaged Sproul, a company called Sproul, to undertake a review of the geological and engineering data from that well, which indicates currently 2.76% helium, 19.5% methane, and other gases. They're also going to be undertaking a 3D seismic survey over the area of the Sagebrush project during Q4. That's some 16 square miles. They will be de-risking and optimizing the asset, and that's the other assets across the Sagebrush project. They're also looking at the existing well in the Leadville formation to undertake an extended production test. So they're undertaking a 4 to 6 week extended production test from between 7,200 and 7,400 feet down. That's going to be funded from existing cash resources, and that will, of course, along with the Sproul reports, give them a very accurate overview of the potential and the value in the asset. So I mentioned the board changes. Howard McLaughlin, he's a US-based geologist. He's worked for major companies, including BHP Billiton, spent many years in the region and in the USA, involved in exploration and production. And I'd urge listeners to looking at this company to take a look at the interview that Andrew Scott undertook with Howard McLaughlin at the start of this week. It's on the branduk.net website. You'll find it there. The company also has Andrew Scott now as a non-exec director. The chairman is a gentleman called Carl Dumble. Carl has spent 20 years in accounting and tax, based in Sydney in Australia. He's also director of Emperor Energy as well. So the team have now changed, and it's been very much led by Howard on the exploration front. So we're going to see a lot of news flow in the coming weeks and months. And I think, given where Mosman is currently on the valuation curve, I think it looks an exciting prospect, given that the market capitalization is little more than the cornerstone value of that Sagebrush 1 well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Alan. So it's interesting that Andrew Scott's joined as well. So that suggests maybe they're going to up their sort of PR a little bit and flag waving, maybe. I don't know. Absolutely,
yes. That's part of the process. Well, it's ahead of a sustained period of news flow, because we've got these. Obviously, the Sproul report will be out within a month, I would imagine, and that will just, I think, provide independent verification of the value of the Sagebrush 1 assets, and of course, flag up any further opportunities that might not have been identified. Also, that 3D seismic survey, which will be undertaken later in the year, and of course, the extended production run on the Sagebrush 1 well. But there's going to be a sustained period of news flow. And also, of course, there are the other assets, the Vector projects and the Coyote Wash project. So we're going to be having hearing more news about those in the coming weeks and months too.
Excellent. Good stuff. Yeah, there's not many helium, I keep saying this, not so many helium players, are there? So,
well, there aren't, no. And I mean, obviously, as I said, we've spoken about Mendel and the opportunities there, but Colorado, there's a good network of connectivity there in terms of getting the gas to market and getting the assets to market. So everything's in place for that. And obviously Colorado, similar to Kansas, it's a very it's an area that's renowned for oil and gas production, and the infrastructure is in place.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, Alan. Thanks for that. Thanks for bringing us up to date on Mosman. So, Dan, we're going to cover Critical Mineral Resources, who are they're not a new company, but I think they're sort of new to perhaps investors maybe talking about what they're doing, because they've just started. We did an interview with them, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, the first interview, but they've had a bit of a reiteration, haven't they? That's now a sole focus on their new project now. So it is sort of like, okay, here we go, let's get the ball rolling, let's see what they're all about, get on the ground. I think they're actually going to be on the ground pretty soon. So you've done some research. Just give us the overview of CMR, and I think we'll be hearing quite a bit from them over the next few months.
Yeah, so CMR signed a JV agreement to run into 60% of a copper and silver project in Morocco at the end of May. Was it last week, Mark? You spoke to CEO Charlie Long.
That's right.
Yeah, and after listening to your interview again, I really think this looks like a cracking ground floor opportunity, especially with the company currently trading at just £2.5 million when I last looked. So let's begin with the project itself. CMR hasn't released too many details so far, opting to let the results speak for themselves from here. And the project actually doesn't have an official name yet, as far as I can tell. Still, we do know a few things, and they all speak measures to the potential here. First, we know this is a sedimentary hosted copper deposit. As Charlie explained, such deposits are known not only for hosting large quantities of copper over large areas, but also for being easier and more cost-efficient to mine than the more historically prominent porphyry deposits. Second, we also know CMR's project neighbours Managem's Tizza project. This is one of the most exciting sedimentary hosted copper projects in Morocco, with a resource of about 130 million tonnes at around 1% copper. And work completed by CMR's JV partner so far has shown that the two projects share exactly the same rocks from the same age. Third, and most importantly, we know work by CMR's JV partner has already shown that this new project contains consistent mineralization over at least 10 kilometers of strike, and likely much, much more. It's also shown shallow contact, allowing for both low-cost drilling and reserve developments, zones of higher grade and lower grade mineralization, informing a 1.2% copper equivalent grade, and an initial exploration target of 150 kilotons to 200 kilotons contained copper, expected to increase as more work is completed. So all this to say that CMR is not developing a greenfield project here. This is an asset already containing a discovery that lends itself to shallow, long life, low cost open pit copper mining. And now it's de-risked in this way. It's simply a case of establishing the true scale of this thing. On that front, Charlie is certainly optimistic. In your interview, Mark, he said CMR is hoping this will be the biggest coppery discovery on the small cap London market in decades. I think he cited one in the 2000s as the last.
There was some pretty big statements in that interview,
So with that bold statement in mind, the obvious question is what comes next? How is CMR going to demonstrate this scale? How is it going to unlock value from it from here for investors? So it actually has a pretty clear plan in place, and it's already pretty far advanced. So CMR's JV partner has previously undertaken trenching, scout drilling, and resource modeling work on one particularly accessible part of the project. It's also completed metallurgical test work here, showing copper and silver recoveries of 80% and 61% respectively, submitted an EIA and feasibility study, secured land access rights, and it's received a turnkey estimate for a 750 tonne per day copper flotation plant. The idea then is to take a dual track approach from here. On the one hand, CMR and its JV partner will focus on using this area as a site of an initial fast-tracked open pit mine, providing an opportunity, for short-term production and cash flow. On the other, in parallel, the company's longer-term and potentially much more valuable objective will be the completion of exploration across the wider project area. This will enable it to establish just how big the real longer-term copper opportunity here is, and to potentially build a much, much larger copper resource. So like everyone, I really like it when you come across an attractive opportunity before everyone else has cottoned on to it. It's obviously what creates the best returns. And I can't help but feel that's what CMR is offering right now. With its current market cap, the project objectively is yet to capture the market's full attention. But with CMR now actively marketing itself, I think your interview was actually the first step there, Mark. And with the commencement of drilling next month, meaning a steady stream of, hopefully encouraging assays are likely on the way, that could soon change. We could see CMR enter the radar of a much larger pool of investors who are being kind of starved of new opportunities like this over the last few years. So what's clear for now is CMR certainly has the right asset. It has the funding with strong support from a family office, which Charlie mentioned. And again, which Charlie mentioned, it has the expertise both through its JV partner and its chief operating officer, who's a veteran of Moroccan mineral exploration. So now it will all be about delivery. And if the company can deliver, which I have no reason to doubt it can, I really thought Charlie's interview was very encouraging and showed a lot of direction. And if they do deliver, I think we could see the company re-rate quite quickly from its current valuation as those results flow in.
Yeah, indeed. No, I actually like talking to the CEO there, and I'm quite excited to see. Well, I think we're going to try and catch up with them on site, because I think they're going on site pretty soon, and they do have connection there. So be good to have a chat with them. I mean, they were a little bit. They've not fully, I think, completed all the acquisitions yet and signed everything off. So they were a little bit, let's say, loose on sort of location and detail. But they will announce that as soon as they can. But yeah, it's just sort of come. I mean, I have to thank it was an investor, actually, I think in Marula, who introduced us to CMR, and yeah, they were very keen to sort of start talking a bit more and telling the story about what they're doing. And as you say, it was pointed out that he's making some quite big statements about what the project is like and what it could be. So, well, we'll have to see. Hopefully, it matches up to the enthusiasm. But I think it's one that I was not aware of, and I don't think perhaps many people are. But hopefully, it might become a bit more widely known. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice to know that you've got those results that will kind of start to show evidence of the potential here pretty soon. I think he said that I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said because they're drilling quite shallow and the lab is in Marrakesh, which can be the assays can be delivered, the next day. And while they won't deliver assays every time they get them, it will enable them to, put them out in batches or however they see fit. So, yeah, we can expect some more RNSs over the coming weeks, I think.
Absolutely. And I think they can get into production fairly quick, potentially, as well, can't they? Low-hanging fruit, open pit style. So, yeah. Well, thank you, Dan. Thanks for pointing that out to us. So let's see what they do throughout the course of the summer.
Definitely.
So, Alan, we're going to finish off with FDR, First Development Resources. Of course, the spin-out, long-awaited spin-out from Power Metal Resources. If it can do anything like what Guardian Metals, formerly Golden Metals, did, then we're in for a bit of a ride, aren't we?
It's really exciting, isn't it? I mean, we've waited for so long for FDR, and I know, Mark, you and the Stockbox team have with our involvement over the years with Power Metal Resources, with Sean, and of course prior to Sean Wade with Paul Johnson, and Tristan Pottas, who has the patience of a saint. I think he has been so keen to get this underway, and he's the most enthusiastic, or one of the most enthusiastic CEOs I think I've ever come across. There's a real opportunity here, and of course this is another company from the Power Metal Resources stable, and of course initially Gold Metal Resources, now Guardian Metal Resources, absolutely blazing a trail under Oliver Friesen. So I think there's a great deal of hope, expectation, excitement that Tristan Potters can do the same with First Development Resources. And why not? Because they've got some real quality assets. So go through the assets first of all, and then the details on the IPO, which of course takes place next Tuesday. That's July 29th. Chief Executive Tristan Potters, he was previously involved with the potash project up in Yorkshire, and has a lot of experience with listed companies, and of course working on various commodity projects. Chairman is Michael Moore. The FD is Ben Hodges, and non-exec director Luke Cairns. I've known Luke for many years, so that's a good board in place, ready to go. The company owns 3 copper and gold projects in Western Australia in the Paterson province, and of course the Paterson province is highly regarded. It's very it's well known. Of course, Rio Tinto operate there with the North Winu project, which has 503 million tons of copper at 0.45%. Then, of course, Greatland Gold, or now Greatland Resources, with the Havieron asset, 6.5 million ounces of gold, and growing, expanding all the time. And the Newcrest mining, of course, have the Telfer asset, which of course is now involved with Greatland Resources as part of the asset. And Telfer is an asset with some 20 million ounces of gold. Now, the 3 projects, the first one is the Walal project, spelled Wallal. This is a 100% land package that covers 572 square kilometers. It has very similar geology to the Havieron asset, and it also has, importantly, 3 magnetic bullseye targets, which were similar in both in size and shape to the initial Havieron discovery. So that, of course, makes it hugely exciting. The Wallal project also shares a license border with Rio Tinto. It has a land heritage clearance. It's so approval, and is ready to drill. So literally, they're going to hit the ground running when they go in there. Then there's the Ripon Hills and Braeside West asset, which is some 48 square kilometres. This license is prospective for base metals and gold mineralisation. And there was a recent base metal discovery by Rumble Resources, ASX listed RTR is the epic code, Rumble Resources, which really enhances the prospectivity of Braeside West, given that there is shared geology. And then, of course, the final asset is in the Northern Territories. That's the Celta project, and there are 3 exploration licenses there, one covering 781 square kilometres, another covering 312 square kilometres, and the third one covering some 482 square kilometres. And this is host to uranium, is prospective for uranium, rare earths, tantalum, tungsten, and the asset is close to the Arafura Rare Earths, that's ex-listed company, Nolan's Rare Earth deposit, which is a world-class rare earths asset. The company have promised that they're going to hit the ground running. Now, there's a recent presentation, or the latest presentation from the company, which I'm sure will be updated once the IPO takes place. But there's a timeline for each project, and the Wallal project, there'll be a phase 1 due diligence program, phase 1 DD interpretation, and then further works, sampling at Celta, targeting a drill study at Braeside West, targeting a drill study at Ripon Hills. So this is all going to happen within a very few weeks of the IPO. On that matter, the company is IPOing at 6.67 pence. There are 105,771,980 shares in circulation. Those shares will be issued at 6.67p. Will raise 2.3 million on IPO, giving the company a market cap of approximately 7 million. Power Metal Resources will hold 45.71% of the enlarged share capital post-IPO. So just as Power Metal have held stock both in First Class Metals and in Guardian Metal Resources, they'll continue to do so here, and will of course provide all the support that they provided to their other spin-off companies. So really exciting, really keen to see this go, but expect an absolute torrent of news flow from next Tuesday onwards.
Next Tuesday onwards. Okay, well, here we go. Let's bring it on, Alan. That's what I say.
Indeed.
Been waiting long enough for this. I think the markets have definitely turned, haven't they? We said this before, and the fact they can now get that away, obviously that also bodes well for general sentiment in the market. There's clearly some more capital available. As you say, I hope Tristan has spent the last, I don't know, what is it, 2 years? 3 years? Really, getting things ready to go on the ground so that when it does happen next Tuesday, that's it. They can go for it and start, showing some news flow, talking about the projects, getting things going, starting to build some value. And no pressure, Tristan, but
well, of course,
the last spin out from Power Metals did quite well.
It did rather well. It did. Yes, he's got big shoes to fill. But if anyone can do it, Tristan can. He's extremely enthusiastic, but also the quality of these assets too. I know when looking at the spin-offs, first of all, this was kind of top of the list for me. So looking at what Guardian have done, if FDR can get anything like close to that, and of course, you've got Greatland down there, just across the road, literally. So they're all very close together. So who knows what could happen? If there's a discovery there, the infrastructure's there. There are other teams on the ground. So it's just really exciting. But that latest presentation you can link to from the FDR First Development Resources website, or the First Development Resources page on the Brand UK website. The link is there to take you straight to that presentation.
Excellent. Good. Dan, do you have any thoughts on FDR, just briefly?
I think that was a great summary by Alan. Just to echo him, I think you got some great assets here, great neighbourhood, really experienced, enthusiastic management team, and you got already baked in as all that interest and expectation on the back of GMET's success. So it'll be great to see how the company's initial work programs go over the coming months. And if they get the results they're hoping for, I think we could see this one do very well.
Yeah. Indeed. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Good to get a bit of an idea of some of the opportunities to look at, perhaps at the course of the summer here. But definitely looking forward to seeing FDR next Tuesday. That'll be nice. They can hopefully keep us still interested in the markets throughout the course of August, when generally it does go quite quiet.
Probably a good time to get the IPO formalities out of the way during August as well, and then come September, when things start to pick up, But I think I don't think there'll be any delay at all. I think we're going to see it's going to be all action straight away, all guns blazing.
Excellent. Well, thank you both. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll speak next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Dan.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.